The League is a nonpartisan organization that has been registering and educating voters, fostering civil discourse, and supporting voter rights since its establishment in 1920. We encourage informed and active participation in government. The League never supports or opposes political parties or candidates. We do take action in the public interest based on a membership consensus process. The League is no longer a women-only organization. Anyone is welcome to join. We would like to acknowledge that this event is taking place on the traditional land of the Cow Creek Band of the Umpqua tribe. We express our gratitude to the land itself and to the people who cared for it for generations. We commit to a shared effort to be good caretakers of these lands into the future. A Douglas County Commissioner serves as one of a 3-member board, overseeing county government operations, budget, and policies. They manage county property, appoint department heads and board members, and act as a liaison for 112,000 plus residents to ensure services. They are elected at large for a 4-year term in a nonpartisan race. Thank you for joining us this evening as we gather to hear from those who seek to serve as Douglas County Commissioners. All 13 candidates for the 3 positions were invited. When you cast your vote, sometime before 8 p.m. on Tuesday, May 19th, you will choose one for each position. We have color-coded the name placards and grouped the candidates by position to help you understand the choices you'll need to make. We encourage the candidates to be concise in their answers and watch for cues from Julie, our timer up front. Responses will be limited to 1 minute due to the number of candidates. Audience members, please submit your questions in written form. Just hold up your card and someone will bring it forward. And if you need a card, just wave your hand and someone will bring you a card. That's our procedure. Okay, so we decided through an impartial draw that Tim would be answering the first question, and then we'll proceed in an orderly succession to give everyone a chance to be first at some point. Our opening question then for you to answer is, why are you running, and what experience and leadership skills make you the best candidate for this office?
Thank you. I want to start with a quote from a dinner I attended with U.S. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. This experiment of self-governance requires all of us to participate. Thank you all for being here tonight and participating. Because time is short, I'm going to go as quick as I can through this. This has a little bit of the last 20 years of the work I've done participating in self-governance. I started on the Roseburg City Budget Committee, Roseburg City Council, Council President, Chair of the MedCom Ambulance Authority, chaired the League of Oregon Cities General Government Committee. At the state level, I was a House Republican whip, co-chair of the Ways and Means Subcommittee on Health and Human Services, Rules Committee, which we did a lot of education policy, full Ways and Means Committee, co-chair of the Special Joint Committee on Healthcare Transformation, ONC Counties Committee, and co-chair of the Small Business Committee. As a county commissioner, I've been the board chair multiple times. I'm on the board of the directors of the OSU Extension Service. I've chaired that many times. I am in my 10th year of the President of the Association of ONC Counties, and I'm on the DPHN Board of Directors and the Community Cancer Board of Directors, on the Health Alliance Board of Directors, and honorary member of the Vietnam Veterans Association.
Okay, thank you. I think we hit the 1 minute mark. Sorry. All right, thank you. And next is Brandy.
Hello, everyone. Today is actually my birthday, and I'm so glad to be here with you all. So I actually first got involved in county politics largely because of term limits. In 2014, 7 out of 10 voters voted to support 2 4-year term limits in Douglas County. Those were eventually overturned in court, and we still don't have them, so I keep running, and I'm going to keep running until we have term limits. Regarding my experience, I was elected as an officer to the Associated Students of UCC, where I served as vice president. My county involvement has been in a volunteer capacity, and so I've been to county commissioner meetings, the budget town halls, parks advisory meetings, CCI meetings, predator control district meetings, and transportation board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. My name is Shane Kelly. I am running because I moved here to the most beautiful place in the entire world, but our county is unfortunately in shambles. We have a terrible budget deficit. We have an extremely high unemployment rate. We're currently dead sprinting towards the highest unemployment in the state, and I want to see change. So that is why I'm running, is to be that change. My experience is I'm the president of the Friends of the Myrtle Creek Library. I serve as a planning commissioner for the city of Myrtle Creek, and I serve as a treasurer for the Everyday Needs Network, bringing clothing and hygiene items to people in need throughout Douglas County. I just want to thank everyone again for coming out, and this will be a great time.
Hi, my name is Samantha Frost, and I'm running because I actually grew up here in Douglas County. I moved away for about 19 years and came back. It was a completely different world. In the 80s and 90s, it was thriving. My father worked for Huffman and Wright. We celebrated everything. It was just the timber capital of the whole world, you know. And now it's full of drugs, homeless. It's going downhill by the day, and so I'm running. I have experience when I was gone 19 years, I was actually in the military. I was a forensic scientist, so I can pinpoint that crime out. And then I have I also have PCP experience. I'm a precinct committee person. So I get involved very actively in politics. So I know some of you have noticed that, but thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Chris Boyce. I'm your current county commissioner in seat number 3. I am running for re-election. I have 12 years experience so far in the job. Before that, I was a small business owner in Roseburg since 2002, very involved in the community in all sorts of different ways, including volunteerism and philanthropism, and I'm going to yield the rest of my time so that I can climb under the table and pick up Sam's pen.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Wellmeyer, and I'll tell you why I'm running. When I was in high school, I had girlfriends with boyfriends that got drafted. It changed all of our lives, and at that point I knew that I was going to have to be involved somehow in politics, because what our elected officials do affect our lives every day. And I believe that I can be a good person for you and listen to you what you want for your county government. It is a position 3. I am in competition with Mr. Boyce. It is my pleasure to be here. I thank you for that. My work history also includes working for state government, and I've been really involved in volunteer activities within my city of Reedsport, where I've lived for 22 years. So thank you for your time, and thank you for the organization for having us tonight.
Check, check. My name is Andrew Rosales, and I'm running for county commissioner because I want to bring prosperity back to the county. I believe that we have a lot of advantages in the county. We touch the coast, we touch Crater Lake, and we have the Cascades and the coastal mountains. If we can just come together and have a shared vision of the future, we can create a plan and we can start working that plan. I believe that we can make Douglas County someplace great to live. We just got to work it, and we got to work hard. Too long we've been just treading water, not actually having any type of plan for the future. If you elect me, I plan to put a commission together. We'll come up with a vision 2030 for Douglas County, and then we'll start working that plan, and we'll make this a better place for all of us. Thank you.
I think this one, yeah, this one works. And I'm not going to stand up because I think I might fall off the side of this thing, even though we have one less person show up. Okay, you can go ahead and start my time. My name's Steve Hammerson. I am a Roseburg School District School Board member. I've been doing that for about 3 years now. One of the main reasons that I'm running is I just don't see a long-term strategy and a good working relationship with our public school system. I think we have a skilled workforce that, our trade pathways programs and our medical pathways programs, we have smart, intelligent, amazing kids coming out of our area. And Roseburg has less than 19% population 20 to 34. So I want to boost our Gen Z, our Gen Alpha, our younger generation. I want them to stay here, and I want them to get good jobs here, and I want them to buy houses here. My beautiful wife and my 3 sons are in the front row right there. I'll embarrass my oldest since he's a teenager. He just placed 14th in robotics in state. And he's been working on that robot every night till like midnight, 2 a.m. The 3D printers. Okay, I gotta stop.
Hello, I'm Tom Kress, and I appreciate the league and the people here tonight. You are informed, engaged voters, and that matters. 8 years ago, I sat on a stage like this with 7 other naive candidates running for an open county commissioner seat. I want to think I wasn't quite as clueless as the rest, but because I had spent months attending board meetings, meeting with department heads, and learning from former county commissioner Doug Robertson what the job actually is. Tonight, you're going to hear a lot of the same things we heard back then about making housing more affordable, diversifying the economy, lowering your taxes, improving schools, increasing transparency, and fixing the budget. Those are all great sound bites. The problem is most of those issues are either dictated by state statute or simply outside the authority of a county commissioner. One example of that is we need to create more diverse jobs so our young people will stay here. I agree, that's important. But the reality is county commissioners don't create industries or dictate the economy. We create conditions where business can operate, and even that is heavily shaped by state policy. 8 years ago, instead of criticizing what the commissioners were doing, I focused on what the job actually entailed and how I could use my skills to do it well and support the work being done. You elected me then, and I hope I've earned your trust to be re-elected now. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Nick Mitchell. I am a user experience designer. In short, what I do is I understand problems that businesses have with their websites and applications and find ways to solve them. It's skills that will translate directly into what a county commissioner does, is we help solve the problems that this county is facing. In what capacity, that varies depending on the issue. My main goal is to make sure that each and every one of you feel that you have a voice and a seat at the table when we're making decisions. I want you to understand why we make decisions, how we make decisions, and how they're going to affect you. Now, I can tell you right now, if I am elected, I will make decisions that you don't like. I will make decisions you like. Either way, you will know why I made them, how I came to the conclusion, and you will know that I heard your voice even when the decision isn't something that you like. I'm big on open and transparent decisions, conversations, and really building this county into something that can be great again.
Good evening. I just want to assure everybody in this room that I'm a highly qualified candidate and far beyond naive as to what this position and leadership will hold if you elect me as the commissioner for Douglas County. I'm a dedicated community advocate and experienced executive leader, more than 20 years of service strengthening partnerships, advancing resilience, and responsibly stewarding natural resources for Douglas County. True collaboration and thoughtful questions are the hard work I'm here to bring. And my website, if you want to learn more about me, is voteforwic.com. Use the number 4, voteforwic.com. And also for term limits in Bridges Out of Poverty work, when somebody's intergenerational wealth, their driving force is networking for opportunities for themselves in that networking group.
Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves and letting us know why you're running. The next question will go to Brandy first. And keeping in mind that some issues are outside the purview of a county commissioner, but in order of urgency, what issues do you see as most important for county commissioners to address?
Yes, currently I see three main issues that county commissioners need to address, and this is from doing research in the community, listening to what people say. Like I said, number one, term limits. That is something that 7 out of 10 voters can agree on. It's something that we should have. There's two ways that it can be done. One is by the initiative petition process, another is by executive order. So it's something that a commissioner could do tomorrow with the political will and 2 commissioners make a quorum. The second thing would be election integrity. We have a lawsuit right now where every judge in the county recused. It looks very bad. My solution would potentially be something that looks like a regime change. A third thing is traditionally we had a timber severance harvest tax. In 30 years, we've lost about over $3 billion. That's $100 million a year to counties. Idaho never gave theirs up, so that's what we need to work on. Thank you.
The 3 most important issues to me are our economic diversity, bringing in new industries to provide good paying jobs to the people in this county. We have a sky-high unemployment rate. We can't blame the state for that. It is clearly a county issue when we're the highest unemployment in the entire state. So the other thing would be accountability, taking accountability for what we can do and making sure that we are making an effort to make the changes to the things that we may not be able to do. There's ways to lobby. Tim Freeman takes credit for changing the ONC timber revenue coming to here. This was a federal decision. This had nothing to do with the county commissioner. So those things are important. The third thing for me would be affordability, building more housing that's affordable, and then with that economic diversity will come better paying jobs so that we can afford more of the things that we see increasing in cost throughout not just the county but the country. Thank you.
Okay, my 3 issues I would say are transparency. I think that audits need to be done big time, including elections. Thank you for taking that right out of my mouth. Elections are of county concern. Who here actually votes? I'm assuming everybody does. The third, because elections were the second. The third, I would say human rights. So we've got human rights abuses going on right now. Amendment 5 actually says that you can't take property unless you're compensated. So your property taxes are part of that. Your property taxes are actually unconstitutional, so I would reduce your property taxes. Also, communication. You need to be able to speak to your representatives. In fact, it's in our Oregon Constitution that we have the right to instruct them, and right now they don't want that.
Good evening. The most important thing that a county commissioner needs to focus on today is our budget. We have obviously faced some significant budget challenges, but to sit here and say that Congress makes changes in the favor of county governments for revenue without someone advocating on your behalf for those changes is ridiculous. There have been 40 almost years worth of commissioners who are experts in this, trying to accomplish what we have accomplished recently with Congress in changing that revenue model. And we will continue to do that work because we understand it and we understand it well.
There are so many important issues. I think the ones that matter most to me, but more than that, matter most to you, is it's about the economy. It's about people having enough money to pay their bills. It's about having enough money to buy clothes for their children and not worry about their children leaving once they get out of high school. I would like to see new business come in, a diversified kind of business. I think we can do that. I'm a business person. I know what it takes to do that. And the other thing is affordable housing. As we reach retirement age and further, a lot of older people cannot stay in their homes because their income doesn't keep up with the rising costs. I'd like to see more affordable housing in the county, and I think that's very doable. Thank you.
Very good. I think the three biggest issues are transparency, budget, performance, and trust. And if you read between the lines, that's all the same thing. We don't trust our local government because we don't actually have conversations. There's an opportunity for us to talk at the county commissioners, and there's an opportunity for the county commissioners to talk back at us. But there's no conversation. There's no, hey, this looks funny. Why does this look like that? How do we adjust that? And that's where we come with that mistrust, and we don't really believe what's happened. I don't know if I have time. Recently, there was a thing that came before the commission that was RT and RT20, and it actually didn't redesignate any land anywhere in the county. It just added tools to the toolbox for the commission for what may happen down the road. And there was such an upwelling to vote against it, and it wasn't because of what it did, it was because of the lack of trust. So we have to talk to people and listen to them and start building back that trust. Thank you.
Yeah, so two of those things. Having a long-term economic strategic plan, I think, is super huge. I visited almost every single school board during this campaign. There is zero communication between public school system and the county commissioner's office. They won't even pick up their phone. So I think building that relationship to understand what kind of workforce that we have, what kind of skills, trades, certifications that our kids are having, coming out of that system so that we can partner with them, communicate out to business, and try to match that to keep our kids here. The other one too is trust. I'm with these guys. I think you guys hear this every 4 years. Transparency is an issue, and then they go, oh, well, transparency is not an issue. So, I mean, two of my campaign promises are that I'm going to have a live stream camera in my county commissioner office so you can see me 24/7. You can see if I say I work 60 hours this week, you'll be able to see that I work 60 hours this week. And the other one is that I'm going to do office hours every Friday for 4 hours, 20-minute segments, and you can just contact me and come into the office, just like James Garfield's presidency, and I'll sit down and talk with you, whatever your issue is.
So, not sure this one works anymore. Guess we're going now. So, for me, the top priorities are going to be, how do I continue to provide essential services to all you folks and everybody else in the county with, rising costs and everything else. And those essential services, to me, are public safety, the infrastructure that we have, and just basic services to our veterans and to our seniors. And to advocate for that at a federal level in order to have our revenue stream so that we have that money, because without revenues, those services are very, very difficult to perform. So for me, we're going to continue to do that work where we advocate for the revenue that the federal government owes us, and to continue to prioritize the services that you folks need and expect from your county.
For me, the three top issues, it's difficult to it's difficult to nail those down because there are a lot of issues that we face. And they run the gamut of things that we have direct control of and things we don't have direct control of. I'm going to take a little different approach though, as I've already said. My first thing would be rebuilding your trust. And that will come through the actions that we take, the decisions we make, the people we appoint to commissions, how we treat those people on commissions, and how we treat the public in general. When you trust us, it makes our decisions a lot easier because we don't have to sit back and wonder, are the people, are they happy with what we're doing? And do they believe that we're tackling the correct problems? That's a lot of the times the issue is knowing that we're attacking the right problems. And when you don't trust that we're doing that, it really won't matter what we do because it will always feel that we're disingenuous in some fashion.
Okay, when I list my top 3 priorities, I have direct experience in doing this in my career as executive director and working in nonprofits and closely with budgets and for government funds and how that all works in very complicated funding budgets and all that kind of thing. So with that fiscal responsibility and transparent government budgets, workforce development and economic opportunity, support for families, youth, and rural communities. And when I say fiscal responsibility, I think that it's really important to not just rely on ONC dollars to be able to fund the gaps in our government, that we could definitely learn to diversify how to provide our government services.
So this is one of those questions that's much easier to answer if you've done this job for a while. So during the pandemic, we had a chance to set our priorities with the most important services because we knew we were not going to be able to provide everything. So in real time, we sat down and figured out what the most important things were. Number one is public safety. If you don't feel safe in your home, nothing else matters. Number two, amazingly enough, was feeding seniors. We feed over 80,000 meals a year to seniors, and if we're not doing that, there's a lot of seniors that would not eat. Right behind that is making sure the veterans were taken care of, and a whole list of things. So we've done this priority list in real time, and that had to be accurate, and we did it pretty darn well. As far as some of the other comments, we have all of our meetings are now online. You can watch them in real time. We've done over 1 million contacts with people in newsletters, Facebook, and YouTube that never happened before. We're doing more outreach today to communicate with the public than any time in the history of this county.
Thank you. The next question does pertain to revenue streams. Budgets have been mentioned, revenue. In early 2026, Congress restored the 75% revenue share for ONC lands, up from 50%. With the county share of timber receipts going up, how do you ensure that we don't repeat the boom and bust cycles of the past? What's your plan to diversify the county's revenue so that we aren't 100% dependent on federal logging levels?
The most important thing to diversify our economy is to attract new industries. For too long, we've depended on one single industry in Douglas County, which has been our downfall. Them increasing how much we get does not increase how much they log. Getting 75% more while timber is on a decline for demand does not do anything good for us. We need to get away from being on federal welfare and creating revenue streams by bringing in new industries and industries that can utilize the lumber that we have here, such as value-added wood product manufacturing and industrial manufacturing. That stops our logs from leaving our county to go to our neighbors or overseas. If we can keep that raw good here in our county and process it to build goods, we can create a new industry that will create more jobs, better paying jobs, and a competitive industry that will cause the logging industry to have to increase wages and increase benefits to be able to compete with a competing industry. So those are my ideas to get away from that single source industry. Thank you.
Okay, so I am one of those that wants to reduce burdens. So I want to reduce taxes. I want to reduce fees. That way, more people actually move to Douglas County instead of exiting. So that's my whole thing, is to use that money that's actually going to come in from our number one resource. I mean, Douglas County, I was reading the other day, 700 and something acres of the ONC land. Absolutely, we've got so much timber, and if we have some of that income, we can bring businesses, we can bring, without the red tape, without that burden that people always talk about here. And that would also, that's how I think that people would thrive here and bring back the golden age.
Thank you. So I'm grateful for this question. For the last 15 or so years, I have been working diligently to try to educate the public about how the county's budget actually works. And this is the long and the short of it. The county does not get paid from jobs. The county does not get paid from a diversified economy. And this is why we talk about these buzzwords. The county works under a certain revenue model. And creating new jobs and attracting new industry does does not bring new dollars to Douglas County's government. It does not. The solution to the problem is educating the public about the importance of the O&C timberland and the contract that the federal government has with us. It's educating the public about our ability to provide essential services using that promise without having to raise taxes. It is 100% about getting people to understand the difference between industrial timberland and a forest. Those are not the same. They should not be managed the same. And if we do it properly, we do have a long-term sustainable revenue model for Douglas County.
Well, I do think we can bring more money into our budget by diversifying. More business, more people working, more property taxes, more people investing in the community, more property taxes. And how are we going to do this? We're going to do it by getting help from our state legislators and the governor. The governor and the state legislators now have a fast track system that is designed to bring business to the state, and that means our counties. Second of all, relationships. We need the current relationships we have with the county and the state and the governor, and we need to search out and create and build new relationships that are influential, that will bring those businesses to our county. Thank you.
I'm going to take a risk here. I had a really innovative idea not too long ago, and I'm going to try to explain it. And the crux is, would you rather have jobs for the people of the county or money in the government's vault? And if we use O&C land and we start prioritizing contracts that put people to work and doesn't necessarily put money in the bank, then we can really make a difference with the unemployment here. And the side benefit of that is that if we do thinning instead of clear cuts on O&C land, it takes longer, it takes more employees, it costs more, and it creates more jobs. We got to start thinking about creating jobs and taking care of the people of this county, not putting money in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you with the county coffer conversation. But on top of O&C, why aren't we doing anything in the Umpqua National Forest? There's stuff that's happening where the communication is just, oh no, actually, you're naive, you're stupid, you can't understand this, and this isn't a solution. Lack of experience doesn't mean lack of ability. It just means you're not part of the system that created the problems. And you keep hearing the same problems over and over and over again. And all of us on this stage that aren't incumbents are addressing the same thing. So, they're going to say you need experience. I say you need judgment, humility, backbone, and results. That's what you need. And experience without results is just time served.
Okay, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm going to say this. So property taxes coming into Douglas County government is around $13 million a year because of our low tax rate. Now, the sheriff budget alone is about $25 million a year. So understand, if we are brilliant, all of us on this stage are brilliant about diversifying our economy, and we double the tax base here in Douglas County to instead of, what it is today, we double our taxes we receive, that would be $26 million, and that barely covers just the sheriff's department. So that's why when we say diversifying the economy isn't the answer, that's why. It's simple math. We can't increase our tax base enough to even actually offset the services that it requires for these new industries. You have new roads, you have more people here. The county was set up to receive timber revenue from both the National Forest and the O&C, and we need to continue advocating for that because that is the answer.
We all know timber's not going anywhere. I'm not going to touch on that because we've been a timber county. We always will be. It's just going to be a part of life here. There's nothing I can change about that. However, we do have other opportunities where we can put energy to try and bring new revenue in. There is outdoor recreation. There is tourism. Douglas County has some of the most beautiful landscapes, as we've heard, some of the most beautiful areas you can do There is lakes, there's mountains, there's the ocean, there's sand dunes. We have a ton of stuff we can do here. We don't exactly take advantage of that. We don't really have any signature events to show off all these events to bring people in. While they're not going to bring in nearly as much money, I'm sure, as we want, it is at least a start to a new revenue stream. It doesn't necessarily need to be a replacement, but at least a place to start to offset as timber. If it declines, it declines. There's nothing we can do about that. But it is a chance to bring in new revenue streams.
I definitely think that there's a way to look at successful counties, leverage the talent that exists, and that they have good ideas that have been running this county as department heads as well. And so getting really great ideas about how to manage the budgets and what they think. And so when you're a good leader, then you make room for people to come up with these innovative ways to run government and budgets, and you take advice from that to create a revenue model that doesn't just solely rely on pushing the O&C dollars, which are important. I think it's time to use those to take some breathing room and with the budget to have a vision forward and look into prosperity. The state of Oregon is looking into a prosperity roadmap, and how can Douglas County fit into that?
Great, thank you. And I think the question was about O&C timber receipts, so I'll go ahead and answer the question as it was asked. So there's a handful of people in the state of Oregon, and actually in the United States, that know what O&C lands are and how the system works. I've spent the last 10 years learning that. I'm now one of those people that knows that. And I'm not going to be able to tell all that to you now because we do a presentation that takes an hour to explain it. It is an important part of Douglas County, and it's an important part of a very diverse revenue stream that we have to fund county government services. When you hear people say we don't want to do taxes, or we don't want to do this, or we don't want to do that, we want to not worry about the county coffers, what you're hearing is say we want to defund the police. We have in the room the sheriff and the district attorney. These dollars go directly to the sheriff's department. Without dollars, these folks will not have the money necessary to provide the services you demand. I represented a portion of Josephine County when a dispatcher had to tell a young lady, I've got nobody to send. Imagine that, being a dispatcher and saying, hey, I got nobody to send. We can't let that happen here in Douglas County.
So, that was a lot. ONC is half of our story. That is half of our story. But in the 90s, the Oregon Constitution changed. It changed the way that private timberlands are taxed. And we used to pay 100% of the property taxes into law enforcement, into public safety. That changed. And part of the SRS money was infused into the police department. So yes, ONC right now, SRS does pay for part of law enforcement. But when we talk about ONC, we are only talking about half of the story, because we lost the timber severance tax on these multinational corporations, and that money is still being generated. We could be getting that $100 million a year, but right now it's going to other nations. It's going globally. That $100 million isn't coming back to Douglas County, and it used to provide infrastructure. It used to provide money for the law enforcement and for senior services and for all of these things. So again, we need to bring back the severance tax because it's the other half of the story.
Thank you. The next question has been addressed a bit by some people already, but the question is about transparency and opportunity for public input in the Board of Commissioners' decision-making process. So if you think there is a problem, how would you allow for more public input and increased transparency in the decision-making process? And if you don't think there's a problem, please explain how the public does give input and understands decision-making processes. So we'll start with Samantha.
Okay, so I am one that definitely thinks that there is an issue. I have gone to these county commissioners meetings They are at 9:00 a.m. on Wednesday. Who's at work at that time? Show of hands. So, yeah, they're at a very inconvenient time for those that actually pay taxes, right? Then you try to put in an input, and they say, is it on the item agenda? Because you cannot speak if it's not. And then you go to put something in writing on the item agenda for maybe next meeting, and they completely ignore it. Plus, online, they tell you that you can go online. You cannot comment publicly online, even though they ask you if you are online. Oh, there's no public comment? Okay, let's go on. Because you can't. You cannot input. Like I said before, Article 1, Section 8, and Section 26 of the Oregon Constitution is free speech, and you get to instruct your representatives. These guys are not following the Oregon Constitution.
So I appreciate the question. I set out when I became a commissioner to be the most reachable commissioner that there is. And I get a lot of people who frustrate with me over the conversations that I have with folks on social media. But the truth is, many of you in the room have contacted me literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and asked me questions, and I respond personally every single time. I don't keep office hours in 20-minute segments on Fridays. My door's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can contact me on my personal cell phone, literally 24/7. You can reach me through Facebook Messenger. You can call me on the phone. You can invite me to your living room, and I'll come sit down with you and answer any question that you have about any issue that we're working on, and it's always been that way.
This has been one of my issues. The first thing I would do is I would work with the other two commissioners to start a 5-minute citizenry comment period at the beginning of every meeting. As it is currently and has been mentioned, that isn't taking place. And I believe that transparency and trust in your government, you have to be able to say what you think. Even if the commissioners don't like it, even if they think that you don't know what you're talking about, you still have to have that time. And I am also in agreement with the 9 o'clock time, although I've been watching the commissioner meetings for 6 months now, and I've been doing it online because they're recorded. So that is available to us and to you. Also, this meeting for the last two 4-year periods where people have been up here, that's also recorded on YouTube. So the information is out there, but you have to look for it. I would like to make it more accessible to people in real time. Thank you.
So transparency is a part of my DNA. Whenever I work, so I didn't say it in the opening, I was in the military for 21 years, got a project management certification, and then started working for Boeing, where I worked on military derivatives, the AWACS, and the AWC to be in particular. Those are government contracts. When you work on government contracts, it is full open kimono. They get to see every single cent that you spend, how and why. They get to see every hour you charge, and they get to see every rate. We need the same type of transparency in our county government. Why is it that the federal government is held to such a standard, and here the numbers don't even add up, and nobody seems to care? We need to start looking at this budget and really understanding what's happening. There doesn't seem to be any performance metrics. Are we above budget or are we under budget today as it stands? I am curious if anybody can answer that.
I got my own. So I already kind of spilled the beans on my 2 campaign promises for transparency. But here's another one. I won't have an LLC. I won't have a nonprofit. I won't have a personal business while I'm county commissioner. My undivided attention will be to being a county commissioner. It will not be divided across a personal business or a nonprofit or an LLC. Honestly, I'm trying to be nice here, but what Chris Boyce just said, it's not true. It's just simply not true. And I've been door knocking in Reedsport, in Glendale, and every 10 doors, I get some story where somebody's intimidated or harassed by him. Somebody sitting on this stage was. A former preacher of mine was. A guy that I went on a podcast with was. So it's a pattern of behavior. If he doesn't like what you're saying, he will intimidate you. You'll be bullied. That's just how he operates. I'll change that.
So I want to clear the air here a little bit. Every decision that your Board of Commissioners currently make right now has public comment before it. Every single one. We don't make a single decision without asking your input first. So a little misleading here. What we don't do is we don't talk about the color of the moon. We have staff there, we're working, we make decisions. You've got a chance to input on those decisions before we make them. But also that, just like Commissioner Boyce said, we are there every day of the week. We work long hours. Our cell phones, which we only have one, each of us only has one phone, our number's on our cards. It's on our website. You can call us anytime. You can email. Anybody that has ever dealt with us will know we do answer our phones and we do call back. So we're very available. We're not city councilors who don't have offices at the city, where the only time you get a chance to talk to them is at those meetings. We're available anytime.
I'm sorry, just one more time. Can you repeat the question first, just so I make sure I'm on track?
Well, yes, the question concerns transparency and the opportunity for public input in the Board of Commissioners' decision-making process. Do you have ideas for involving the public more in commissioner decisions?
Raise your hand here if in the last year you have been to a working session the Board of Commissioners have held. I'm sorry, working session. Not Board of Commissioner meeting, not a business meeting, a working session. Do you know how they came to the decisions on any contracts they approve? There it is. No one here knows why they make the decisions they make. That's not to say they don't talk about them during the meeting, but that is during the meeting when they are making that decision. There's no time. You know what? I'm just going to skip right over to something right now. The reason also that the people here don't trust the Board of Commissioners is they will not let you comment during a public meeting. They want you to call them on their cell phones, which, do any of you hear what's happening on those calls? Are anybody else included in those email threads? There has been plenty accounts of people being harassed by the commissioners, and all of this is done in private. Why do you think that there is no trust in them?
Okay, yes, I do believe in transparency. It should be at the, public comments should be at the end of the agenda, much like the city does. And that way it's transparent for all three commissioners to see. They say that they're available. I actually have went and spoke to them. What, are we supposed to go to each three individually and talk to them about it? Why can't we talk to them about it at the meeting? And the public comments that are on there is minimum standards. It's required by law to be able to have public. That's why it's held in the public. And there's hardly any discussions when they do talk about their contracts as to why. And there's a lot of questions I have about the dump and why they have consulting fees around that when that was being put through. And so yes, we need some more transparency, and there is room to put it on the public agenda. I've talked to two of the commissioners about that, and I keep getting put off.
So again, you heard it again. There's no public input at our meetings. Every single agenda, you can go look yourself, go look on our website, has public input. Every one of them. Every single agenda. No time limits. Somebody said something about 5 minutes. The legislature can be as short as 2 minutes. Sometimes it's invited testimony. At the county commissioner meetings, every agenda has public input. We don't do it at the end because we want to hear from you before we make our decision. We don't get together ahead of time and make decisions. That's against the law. We make decisions in board meetings, publicly, in front of you. Again, the first time ever that there's been YouTube videos, there's been a place to go look, we archive them. There's places you can go and input during the meeting electronically from anywhere in the county or anywhere in the world on what we're doing. It is all much more open and this buzzword of transparent than it's ever been. We, again, as commissioners, do meet with people individually. We go where you invite us to go. Please invite us. We are available.
Yeah, that is a question that we could ask. If you want to write it on a card and submit it, we can try to get to that. Or it may be one of those questions where you pick up the cell phone and call. Okay, Brandy, is it your turn?
Yes, it is my turn. Okay, so I think that there was some insinuation there about the violation of public meeting laws, and that's been a concern that I've had for at least 10 years. When you attend these commissioner meetings on Wednesday morning, it very much gives the appearance that conversations and decisions have already taken place. Conversations have already taken place before, and everything is just procedurally done out in front of people, and the public comment section is just retained to give the appearance that they're following those meeting laws. Another concern that I have is that when they started out, all three commissioners had a separate secretary. Now Tamara Howell serves as their main public relations representative. It very much brings me concern about the crossing of streams and about interactions and emails. I could go on and on. Reedsport was punished by having their video stream turned off, and there was a period in which I believe that the public comment was completely removed during those during the commissioner meetings. It is what it is.
For me, the most important thing would be getting out into the communities and stop holding all of the meetings just in Roseburg. For a lot of people, it's very hard to travel this county. I know we lost our bus service in Myrtle Creek, so a lot of people now can't get to Roseburg, so we can't participate in these meetings. They need to be held in the cities throughout the county so that people can access these meetings and have their voices heard. We need to be able to fast track people's comments onto the agenda, get items on there that they want to talk about so that people can bring up their concerns. I know when we visited Reedsport, when we visited Glendale, Azalea, people mentioned that they feel forgotten. They feel like their voices aren't heard. You'll hear them downplay how much you pay in taxes, but $13 million is a whole hell of a lot of money, and you should have a voice. Your voice should be honored far more than the timber companies and how much they pay into it and how much their voice matters over yours.
Right on.
Okay, thank you. And the next question has to do with the homeless situation in our county. What specific actionable steps will you take to address the growing homeless crisis in our county? And we'll start with Chris Boyce.
Homelessness has become a huge problem. I had advocated for myself for a position on Roseburg's Homeless Commission and was invited to sit on that commission and then eventually left due to inaction. I don't have a whole lot of time to spend on committees and boards that don't do anything, and it was very frustrating. The city manager from Sutherland called me one day and said, "Commissioner, we've got this beautification project we've done downtown. We paved Central Avenue. We got a new storefronts, and I've got homeless people sleeping on my park benches. What can I do about it?" And I said, "Jerry, those people are not going to disappear. We have to treat them with compassion. They have to have a place designated where they can go. That's step number one. Roseburg needs to have a place designated for the homeless people to go that's compassionate and cares for them and helps them access services that can change their situation. I've been advocating that for a long time. I put up the first respite shelter in the city of Roseburg myself and was ordered to take it down because it didn't meet land use zoning requirements within the city.
Currently, there are many homeless people, as you know. They're entitled to integrity, and recently I went on a ride-along with Officer Chavez in Roseburg, and we went through the camps, and it was worse than I thought. What would I do? First of all, I would remake my relationships with the nonprofits and groups in the area that are working on the problem. I don't believe that leaving a commission because you don't see anything getting done is the right way to do it. I think it's your responsibility to build those relationships so you can work together. There are private companies now, Bernie Woodard, who is doing a homeless shelter both in Roseburg and also in Josephine County. He's got the right idea. Thank you.
So homelessness is a tough nut to crack, if we're being honest. Everywhere I've been in the world, there's been a problem with homelessness. And the reason for homelessness is as varied as there are people that are homeless. So I think the best thing we can do is try to create a circumstance where housing is becoming more affordable, whether that's building, whether that's more public housing, but you know, people are homeless because they don't have a home. Now, on the other side of that equation, just because you're homeless doesn't mean that you don't have to follow the laws either. So I think that there is compassion that's needed. There's also a certain amount of enforcement that is needed as well with compassion. Now, you can't tell a homeless person they can't be here anymore if there's nowhere else for them to go. So we have to start with compassion, and then hopefully we can start to make headway. But it is an extremely difficult topic.
Yeah, I would double what Kathy was saying in terms of partnering with what Bernie Woodard's doing in Grants Pass. That's pretty huge. To me, that's, if they're choosing to be homeless, it's the criminal justice system. If they want help, if they want, because Bernie said that 20% of the people that that he talks with that go through the camps actually are just like, I was in a domestic violence relationship, and I'm not even from Oregon. I just need a bus pass home. So, I mean, I think triaging that in terms of them wanting to continue that lifestyle, or if they want help, and then, you know, either doing what they did in Grants Pass, essentially setting up a facility that essentially is a 6-month program. You got to stay clean, and you basically come in, stay clean, work to you know, help the camp, and, you know, move on to your next step. So yeah, I think that's the key is triage. One way you're going criminal justice, the other way you're going stop sign.
So, you know, there is a very difficult issue here. I think that if I had my way, you know, we, as county commissioners, we currently help the cities when they ask. But if I had my way, I would love to see more out of certain cities. What I really would like to see is as Commissioner Boyce said, a compassionate place for these folks to live. That's not our parks, that are not along our rivers, and they're not a mud field. And each city needs to work towards doing that before, you know, anything else is going to work. And to that end, we have, you know, you got to identify what the folks you're talking about here. The people who truly want to lift themselves out of it, we're more than willing to lend them a hand, and there's lots of agencies that do that. For the people who want that lifestyle, you know, we need to not encourage it any more than we can, and we need to, you know, continue with the criminal justice system so that those folks that are repeat offenders can get their treatment in jail.
Homelessness is a multifaceted problem in more ways than one. Identifying what brought them into that circumstance and what they need to help them get out of that is one thing. And then there's the what we can and can't do as a county ourselves. That one is where it might be a little easier for us to collaborate with different nonprofits, different levels of government, different cities, where we can come together and find solutions that will work, that are scalable, and that will address the core problems of how it became such a big issue. Because if we're not addressing the issues of, you know, how they got there in the first place, we're just dooming ourselves to the same cycle of dealing with it with other people, like over and over again. If we can't address the why they got there in the first place, it won't matter what systems or processes we set up to help them, because they're just going to be back, and that's not helping anybody.
Okay, I'm going to quote Commissioner Boyce, I was listening to him on a podcast recently where he listed the top 4 surveyed problems that we want to focus on in this county is taxes, homelessness, economic diversity, and housing affordability. And with that, so number 2 with homelessness, we need to prioritize it. When we put great minds and leadership and community together and bring unity to it, we can solve great problems. So first and foremost, when we really want to solve this problem and prioritize it, we will. And collaboration is painful. And when you join a commission or a group of people trying to move an effort forward, it takes hard work and compromise and agreeing at the core issue to move efforts forward. And
Great. So this is one of those questions you cannot answer in a minute. So just so everybody understands that. Homelessness is a epidemic happening throughout the United States and maybe around the world. But literally, several of the organizations I'm involved in focus on this as one of their core missions. So I'm on the Umpqua Health Alliance, Board of Directors and Executive Board. That is the Medicaid provider here in Douglas County. We have over 40,000 lives that we're responsible to make sure they have health care, including many of the people that are homeless. They're a very expensive population because of the way they live, and their health needs are very hard to manage, so we work hard on that. I also serve on the state's Criminal Justice Commission, where I serve on the board and the executive board of that organization, and we also understand the intersection between folks that are homeless and when they commit crimes, their drug addiction problems, and ways to create pathways for them out of that cycle. So there's a lot of work being done. The Board of Commissioners, myself and others are very involved in that, and ultimately it takes the cities working with us to be successful.
I think that I heard a lot of questions around, like, how did we get here? Not to beat a dead horse, but I want to talk again about Weyerhaeuser being the largest landowner, owning more than 1.5 million acres of Oregon's 6.5 million acres of private forest land. Despite its growth, Weyerhaeuser employs only about 950 people, down from 4,000 in 2006. And that is the kind of trend we've seen through automation and through the consolidation and through private equity. And we don't see the family wage jobs, and we don't see people who can afford homes. And we have the data. We know that the women living in poverty in Douglas County are, number one, the largest demographic is women 55 to 64, and the second largest demographic are women living 25 to 34. I am a part-time volunteer on a crisis line here locally. 90% of the calls that I take are seeking shelter. And this is of no cause of these people's own. And so that's part of the core issue. Thank you.
Brandy made some great points. The largest growing population of unhoused people in Oregon and across the U.S. is people age 55 plus that get priced out of the homes that they live in. Social Security and single income benefits don't keep up pace with the cost of housing, so we need more housing to stem the flow of the homeless. Cracking the problem that we see with the current unhoused is very difficult. I recently met with Gobi and the Gloria Center in the Dalles. They have almost completely solved their homeless issue in their town, and they had some great ideas. The biggest thing was accessible shelter. Allowing people to get into a shelter, to have a place to sleep, to have a place to get clean, and to get clean clothes and food so that they can get back into the workforce is huge. But with our unemployment rate, if we don't have jobs for these people to go into, they're not going to have a place to escape that cycle of poverty. So diversifying our economy, bringing in new jobs, and creating affordable housing are two great steps to help resolve this issue.
Okay, let's see if I can do this within a minute, or am I too stupid? So the City of Grants Pass versus Johnson passed at the Supreme Court of the United States of America. That allowed our cities to actually clean up our cities of homeless, right? There is a pilot program going on in LA as we speak right now. That pilot program says Well, we're going to take the homeless and we're going to put them through treatment first before homes. Treatment before homes. Then once they're absolutely clean and they get some sort of home, then we put them through an employment program, just like Easter Seals Oregon. I used to work for Easter Seals Oregon, and Easter Seals Oregon did this with veterans. It was very successful at doing that. So that's what I want to do with the homeless. These county commissioners have been in charge for 12 years, I think they said the last time, and they have some sort of homeless committee. Where's that money going? Because the homeless is getting worse. So let's do it the right way.
All right, thank you all. The next question will start with Kathy. And the question is, do you approve or disapprove of ICE taking up residence in Roseburg, and why?
I do not approve of ICE taking up residence in Douglas County. Is one of the reasons I decided to run. I live on the coast, and you probably heard about Newport, what happened there. Did you hear about a county commissioner in Coos County that actually tried to get ICE to come because they thought there'd be more employment? Now, I'm not saying that our commissioners currently would do that. I'm just saying that we need to have strong unity between the commissioners to make a commitment that that would not happen in our county. We are a sanctuary state, and of course sanctuary is defined differently by different states and counties and cities. There's states with sanctuary cities, but the state isn't, and vice versa. It has actually been proven that a sanctuary community or city or state is actually safer for the people that live there. That has been proven. So as far as ICE, no. I'm no ICE. I've been in rallies, and I don't care if you like that. I'm sorry. Everybody has their own opinion on it. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
So my last name is Rosales. For those that don't know me, I was adopted by my father, who is Mexican, so half my family is Mexican. That half of the family was in Texas when it became part of the United States. The other side of my family is Polish. My mom was first generation. They all met because they worked in a packing plant in Minnesota. Guess who gets harassed by ICE? Is it the side of the family that's been here for generation after generation after generation? Or is it the side of the family that just happens to be white and has been here for one generation? It is the Mexican side of the family. So I do think that there is a place for immigration enforcement. Even in migrant communities, there's bad people, and those migrants want those bad people out of their community as well. So I'm not saying defund, but there needs to be a massive overhaul of their policies and their procedures. And we need to stop targeting people just because they have a little more melanoma than we do. So, thank you.
This will be quick, and then I'll address something else. I agree with cooperating with federal law enforcement. I did want to bring up another thing, though. It seemed like the argument or the discussion was kind of framed in terms of, I think Tom was saying that property tax isn't going to solve the county budget. That's not really what we're talking about here. I think one of my campaign promises is I'm only going to go 3 terms, so if I win, I'll only go 3 elections 2 more times, and then I got to find something else to do in my life. But that's a long-term strategy. So to me, solving the budget issue this year, next year, the year after that, that's a short-term issue. The long-term issue is how do we grow Douglas County responsibly? And I don't think there's any effort, forethought, or committees that are being put towards that, and that needs to happen.
I'm a huge supporter of any law enforcement. I don't think any differently of ICE that I would DEA or any other, the Coast Guard or anybody else that wanted to have a facility. It's another law enforcement, so I'm supportive of any law enforcement.
I'll pass. Not on the question, on them having a facility here. They have a track record of being violent. They have a track record of not taking the people that they said that they're going to focus on taking, violence just follows them. That's not something we need for our county. We don't want to divide this place more than it already is. We need to be doing anything we can to support all of our residents, regardless of their legal status. It's not even, it's a, civil offense to be here undocumented? It's not. Pass. Just pass.
I feel very strongly that immigration and customs enforcement has changed completely. They have been rebranded into a paramilitary enforcement. Just look at the garb that they wear and the different paramilitary sprays and all of that that was not a part of what it used to be before. And the monies, they are being funded at a level that's even higher than our penitentiary system. And then, so it just, and also arresting people that are just on the verge of swearing in. And my grandfather was an immigrant, and people come into America to make way for future generations, and they shouldn't be afraid to be able to live the American dream.
Not if they come legally.
So the question is really about what county government should or shouldn't do about ICE coming to our community. So we are a nation of laws. We are bound as county commissioners to follow the law. Oregon has a sanctuary law that says we can't use county resources to help and aid federal immigration enforcement. So we don't do that. We don't have the ability to do that. But the other side of that coin is we don't have the ability to say somebody can't come here and set up shop either. So it's kind of a weird question, and I've heard a little bit of the discussion at the city council around that. So you all know my wife is Hispanic, so that means my kids are Hispanic. I'm not insensitive to this issue. However, if you've got an illegal alien in the county jail that is a criminal alien that's committed horrific crimes, and there's a final order of removal from the United States, doesn't it make sense to coordinate that removal instead of letting that criminal out on the street to cause more crimes? That's where the focus should be.
Not really a financial question. These questions, these value-based questions, these ideological questions sometimes concern me because there is an element of soft power that commissioners have in ideological issues. And it isn't always our job as county commissioners to promote our own opinions. We get elected by the majority of people who elect us, and it's our job to represent the majority of those people. It's our job to represent everybody, but to know what that ideology is. In this case, I'm attempting to remain neutral, but this is largely under the purview of Sheriff Hanlon. He is his own elected representative, and he is the one who oversees his department. As a county commissioner, it is my job to administrate the budget, and I would have to defer to his expertise on these types of issues. I can't tell him what to do.
ICE runs on the platform that they're getting rid of the worst of the worst. And if they're bringing those people into our community, I don't want them here. I don't want the worst of the worst in our community. So I don't want an ICE facility here. They're not going to create jobs. I've heard that said before that, oh, if we have a federal facility here, it'll create jobs. It won't. We don't have any sort of law enforcement training program to create federal agents in our county, and especially not in Roseburg. So it's not going to create jobs. It's going to bring in agents from other places. And if they're bringing in the worst of the worst, I absolutely do not want them brought into Roseburg. I also see ICE operating now with such a huge budget. We see the protests like what is happening in Eugene, Portland, Boston, across the nation. I don't want that trouble brought to our backyard either. So I see no benefit in bringing an ICE facility to Roseburg. We don't have a large population of criminal aliens. And I also don't want to see our local PD using our resources to help federal agents that we already pay taxes for them to do their job.
Okay, I do support ICE, and here are the reasons why. I was a forensic scientist. I also was an investigator, a private investigator. It is very, very hard to catch any criminal illegal immigrants. Here's the reasons why. No fingerprints on file, no DNA on file. They are undocumented. They steal up to 10 social security numbers, and I worked in California. It's also constitutional. Article 4, Section 4, protect against invasion. Article 6, Supremacy Clause, any laws of the state contrary are notwithstanding. That means that the sanctuary laws protecting illegal immigrants are unconstitutional. Article 3, Section 3, anyone adhering to the enemies or invaders and giving them aid and comfort is committing treason. That means our state government is committing treason. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And on the third front, it also brings jobs. Thank you.
I echo everything Commissioner Freeman said. He absolutely nailed the question, and there's no sense repeating him word for word.
Okay. It's noted that the average vintage of, or noting the average vintage of the crowd tonight, this question says, what message would you offer youth that might see this program that would keep them here in Douglas County engaged in the future of our county? And it starts with Andrew. Yeah.
So the youth are our future. What I would say to young people is that the future is yours, and if you don't get involved now, it's going to be dictated to you. But if you get involved and you have a hand in it, then you can shape the future and you can make this a better place. For too long, we sit and we wait for, let me gather my thoughts. I really think that whenever we look at the youth, they are the future. I'm just repeating myself now. So sorry, I'm going to hand it off because I wasn't ready for this one.
Well, this is like everything I'm running on, so sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, this just goes back to the long-term strategy, right? You know, I want young families in Douglas County, and I want to grow the county the right way. And that's going to take time. I know with only 3 terms to go, I'm probably going to pour the foundation, and someone else is going to have to build the house, you know? But that's the vision that I want to communicate to our kids. We already have an intergovernment agreement with UCC between Roseburg High School and UCC. It's incredible. You know, sorry to call out my teenager again in the front row, but we had like a 2-month battle on him driving a car. He didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it. And it was 5, 5, 5, 5. And then he did it, and now it's like living with a roommate. He's like, oh, I'm off to Dutch Bros. Oh, I'm off to robotics. Oh, I'm off to this, off to that. So, you know, with this building, this RHS building that we put on UCC campus, we are putting students, high school students, on a college campus. So you can say, who cares if your mom never went to college? Who cares if your dad never went to college? We're putting you on that. You broke that barrier. Now what? What's your trajectory now? Where can you go now? Oh, I got my stop sign, so.
So, you know, I think some of the most important work that needs to be done with the youth goes on today. I want to continue the support of the FFA that we have in Douglas County. It's amazing. We have 10 chapters here. Those folks are some of the brightest, smartest kids I've ever been around. Also, the career, technical, and education departments that we continue to support in Douglas County are absolutely critical. Not every youth in Douglas County needs or wants a 4-year degree, but there's lots of careers out there, and I, for one, want to continue to support those in the schools whenever we get an opportunity, either UCC or the schools. We're there, and you know, we are supportive of them, and I think we need to continue to do that.
You know, I have to agree with FFA being a great thing. As I was our chapter's president, I have my American degree. 2 things for youth: learn a trade skill, learn to code. They are the two things that will not go away. How we support them in those two things will really shape their opportunities. And whether they want to leave here or not to seek something better, that's going to be ultimately up to them. How we set them up for where they choose to stay, where they choose to go, that's what's up to us. So we need to be making sure that they have a path forward, regardless of where that is. Because how many people have you encountered who maybe they didn't grow up here, but they moved here later in life? That is a big portion of this county. People come back here. I hear all the time that people lived here, they left, they came back because it's beautiful. But at least we need to set them up for success, regardless if they want to stay.
I will say hope for the future. I talk with a lot of youth. I've worked with them in my work here, and it's difficult when there's a lot of youth here that have difficulty. Douglas County has a high percentage of students that need special education, and I have my bachelor's in career and technical education. I truly believe in vocational education and certificates and all kinds of learning. I totally believe in that. And then I also have a master's in psychology, industrial organization, so like leadership and really nurturing that and showing our youth that they are leaders, giving them opportunities to practice, hearing their voice matters, and just making space for that. Too often we just talk at them instead of with them.
So this is a great question. We are so fortunate here in Douglas County to have these school districts that work so closely with the Board of Commissioners. I know you've been told we don't ever talk to the schools. Since that was said last week, I've literally met with 4 different superintendents. And by the way, one of them is my brother. So we have a lot of connections with the schools, the high schools, and the other schools that are in the county, including the community college. I will let you know that the Med Ed program that's been talked about multiple times is a program that I started when I was a legislature with the administrator of the hospital, Kelly Morgan, and the gentleman that was running the hospital, or the Doctors Association, Ron Preston. And that has found its way to programs at the school that allow these students from high school to start taking those courses at the college and integrate right into those programs. The FFA programs around, we go to all their banquets and events, and we judge their contests, and we are very involved. This is a great community. You all live here because you love it. Many of these candidates have recently moved here because they love it. This is a great county.
Well, I was born in Douglas County, and Shane, are you younger than me? Okay, well, Shane's younger than me, but I'm pretty young. And when I started this, I was 28, 38 today. And I guess I would talk to me, and I would say the world is changing, especially global finance. The world is de-dollarizing. We are entering possibly a recession and stagflation, and you need real hard assets like gold and silver and property. And I would say, you should run for office. And I would say, we're gonna work on term limits so that you can run for office. And I'd say, we're gonna work on election integrity so you can get elected.
I would just like to start off by saying I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we have failed you, and that you have to move away to find a good job. I'm sorry that there's not a lot for you here, and that I hope you do come back. And this is a beautiful place, and I can promise you all of these things to make this place better for you, but it'll be my actions that truly make you want to come back here and make the next generation feel that they can stay here and they don't have to leave to find better opportunities. We can create those opportunities here. There's so much available. Please take advantage of the Oregon Promise. Go to college, explore trades. There's so many things out there for you. I just hope that we can bring more of those things home so that you can stay and thrive here.
So education is very, very important. I've been an educator for 25 years. In fact, I've educated some kids in this room. I was a substitute for some of them. I think that we need to start getting our youth interested in learning. Being an ex-forensic scientist, when I brought forensic science into a UCC program, I started out thinking that I was going to teach up to 10 students at one time, and they had so much interest in forensics that it doubled within like a 2-week notice from all of my students. So I think that that's one way to get students more educated. We are 48th in the state or in the country as a state for education. Not good at all. Whatever is happening is not happening very good. So also getting more higher education level into this county as well.
So the question has to do with creating jobs and opportunity for youth. And I'm going to spend just a second to talk about the unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate is a measurement of what percentage of the people are unemployed. It is not a measurement of how many jobs are unfilled. So right now today, most employers in Douglas County have vacant positions and would hire folks immediately if they would walk through the door, myself being one. I know trucking companies that need truck drivers. We need welders, we need fabricators, we need doctors, we need nurses. My son's going to graduate from nursing school in a week and move back to Douglas County and get a job to work here. We invest heavily in all the youth programs, and we have an unemployment problem, but what we have is a number of people who don't want to work or aren't willing to work, not a lack of job availability. I can show you hundreds of employers in Douglas County who hired able bodies today if they were available.
Go ahead.
I raised 3 boys, and it was a challenge, as most of you who have raised children know. One of the things I made sure of was every day they got up and got their things in order, and they hoofed it down to the bus stop, because if they didn't go, then Mama took them. And then I'd stay in the classroom with them to make sure that they stayed there, and they didn't want that embarrassment more than once. My idea about this is that our future is our children, and we can do a better job by providing internships for them. Most children are not mature at 18 when they graduate high school. My idea is that we continue to support the high schools in internships and the new businesses that come to our community. One of the things that should be required is before they get their tax breaks, they need to have internship programs so kids can filter through those programs and figure out what they want to do. That's part of the reason with our children not being secure from the beginning, and we need that for our county. Thank you.
On the subject of children, April was proclaimed Child Abuse Month, or Child Abuse Prevention Month, I should say. So we want, and domestic violence was mentioned also as a contributor to the homeless issue. The question asked by an audience member is, what exact actions would you take this year to help reduce child abuse? And we'll start with Steve.
Yeah, you scared me for a second there. I was like, Child Abuse Month, what is going on? What specific actions would I take to address child abuse, is the question?
That's the question. Like, what programs would you support, or services would you like to see? How can the county help reduce the rate of child abuse in the county?
Okay, so, I mean, again, I think this would be a question that would be best directed to our local law enforcement people, our police chief, our sheriff, on, you know, what the best way to address such a horrible thing would be. But I mean, that kind of brings me to a different point, that, you know, I'm the type of person that recognizes that I'm not an expert. I don't have all the answers. I'm not your master and commander. But man, I got a lot of friends. I've talked to a lot of past commissioners, present commissioners, future commissioners, inside and outside of Douglas County, timber experts, legal experts, House representatives. I have a huge network of people that I talk with and have been talking with for the past year. And it's taxing to have your phone going do all day, but I will get you the answer. You know, if there's a question like this where I'm not an expert, and I wouldn't understand or know the program at the moment, I'm going to find you the answer.
So, many of you may or may not know, this week or so ago at one of our Board of Commissioners meeting, we had a proclamation on this very issue. It's one that we've had a couple years now because it's very important to us. There was quite a few nonprofits and other agencies there. As a commissioner, I would continue to support those like I do today. Those would be our law enforcement. Believe it or not, we had the fire departments there. The fire departments are our first responders there and part of that. We had Aviva there that now has taken over some of the work that Douglas Cares at. We had Mercy Hospital. These folks are our first line in not only identifying the abuse, but then some of them are also there to pick up the pieces afterwards. So as a commissioner, I'm going to continue to support that and bring awareness to it, which is why we do those proclamations, because some of these people are in a very thankless job, and I want people to be aware of what they're doing and of the problem, so I will continue doing that work.
I would feel confident mirroring what Commissioner Kress said is definitely should continue to foster those relationships with the agencies and the nonprofits and the law enforcement that deal firsthand with that, because it's definitely not something that I'm an expert in. So I would absolutely defer to these agencies to continue to, best practices of what they need from us and how we can best serve them so they can continue doing the jobs that they do, because some of them absolutely are thankless and they work longer hours than any of us, any longer hours than I do, I'm sure of that. It's all about collaboration. We can keep funding the services that people need, and we understand the services people need. The more we can do that, the better we can serve them.
Well, this hits me in the heart since I entered into working in human services and joined AmeriCorps to provide in-home visitation to the most at-risk neighborhoods for being at risk for Child Protective Services intervention. So I did extensive research, and I've worked in direct services, working in homes for child abuse prevention work, and ended up working along the way to become chief program officers, overseeing many programs that helped in homes. And so providing in-home visitation around parenting issues and family issues really shores families up. It is the number one way to prevent child abuse. And then there's eyes and ears in the home. So there's agencies to call for those interventions like law enforcement and protective services. And
Right. So in the Oregon legislature, I served on, one of the committees I served on was a Ways and Means Subcommittee for Health and Human Services that funded a lot of these programs that serve this particular population and try to find ways to mitigate some of these problems. As part of that work, I had the very distinct, challenging chance to serve on what's called a sensitive case review. That's when a child under custody by the state is killed. And you get to go through why that happened, and you get to understand the mechanisms in place that should have prohibited that from happening or prevented it from happening. But I will tell you, on the state's Criminal Justice Commission, we talk about sentencing guidelines around these type of crimes. And at the county, we have 3 specialty courts: domestic violence court, mental health court, and drug court. Commissioners continue to support that all deal and have intersections with child abuse, and making sure those programs are still in place and we're holding people accountable. There's a reason why the district attorney and the sheriff endorse all 3 of the commissioners, because we do believe in making sure to hold people accountable for crimes as horrific as child abuse.
So yeah, volunteer in this area. I've been learning a lot this year in my training about child abuse, in particular sexual abuse of children, and who that child is typically most likely going to go to. It'll be a teacher, it'll be a law enforcement person. And so really having teachers and law enforcement trained and knowing how to handle that situation and how not to dismiss it or brush it off. But also as a commissioner, there's a special responsibility as an administrator of funds. And since 2015, there's been about an 8% decrease in the clearances of sexual assault crimes of children. What that signals to me is that possibly we don't have enough investigation capacity, possibly our DAs are overwhelmed, so we need to be funding that. I've heard about officers who have to review some of that material suffering from mental health issues. And so making sure that we also provide that mental health care for the people who are interfacing with the children.
I'll echo a few of the points of investing in our community-based organizations that handle this directly, ensuring that they have the funding and resources needed to complete these tasks, and investing in our law enforcement to ensure that they can carry out justice. Thank you.
So I am in awe with an agency called Socket. It's Southern Oregon Child Exploitation Team. They do an absolutely great job. I've been following them on Facebook ever since they were created. They're getting criminals of child sex trafficking off the streets. I think that we could possibly put something together like that county-wide for Douglas County. Also, she touched on that a little bit, is education to not only parents but the public on how to catch these suspects, maybe indicators of this abuse, this child abuse. So, thank you.
Thank you. So I am the chair of what we call LPSC, stands for Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. It is a state mandated committee that plays in this arena, I would say. And the idea is to have everyone who's involved in criminal justice and public safety convene at the same table to make sure that all the bases are covered. And that committee includes the district attorney, the sheriff, and chiefs of police, public defenders, judges, and so on. And I will tell you, someone mentioned that maybe we should be funding the DA's office because they're overwhelmed. And I'm here to tell you that the DA's office is overwhelmed. And it's not because it's a lack of funding, it's because there's a lack of lawyers. And the public defender's office is also overwhelmed for the same reason. It's very difficult right now to hire enough, not budgetarily, because we prioritized it, but district attorneys to handle the workload. And the same is true in the public defender's office and really across the spectrum.
I would think that the county currently is doing a good job supporting the agencies after the fact of abuse, or trying to put in funds to stop that, or at least make an effort at it. I believe the police department needs to hold people accountable, and we do that through our police department, through our laws. The major thing we need to do is we need to start when the kids are young. There's all kinds of studies that show which kids are at risk. It's done through the school system. We need to shore that up. I have a couple of friends who are teachers. They tell me they get some training on sex abuse and child abuse, but it's hard to identify students when you have 35 students in your classroom. You can't teach and identify and work with students when you have that much on your plate. We need to shore up our teachers, because they're the first thing other than the parents that see the kids and that can pick up the signs. Raising children myself, we, as all of us, have raised children. It is a concern that we have, and it's one that I would have as a county commissioner. Thank you.
So, this one hits home for me. I was a child of extreme neglect and abused, and most of that was due to addiction issues. Here's the truth. Trauma rolls through families generation after generation after generation. And it takes somebody within that family to stand up and say, no more, no more. I am going to stop it. And we got to get in front. So whenever we identify a child that was abused or neglected, we need to take them and love them up and say there's a better way. And that you don't have to continue to inflict this trauma on your children and your grandchildren. Again, being there, you really got to look and see if it's addiction and if it's poverty. But the biggest indicator if somebody's going to abuse their children is if they were abused. So we need to start there.
Okay, thank you all for answering those questions, and thank you to the audience for submitting so many questions. I apologize that we won't be able to get to all of them this evening as time is running short. At this point, I'd like to move to closing statements, and in your closing statement, please address this question. As it's a 4-year term, the question is, when you imagine this county 4 years in the future, what do you envision? Please include that in your closing remarks, and we'll start with Tom.
So thank you all again for tonight. I want to let you know that I was born and raised in Douglas County. I went to high school here, married my wife here, raised my kids here. I really want my grandkids to be here as well. I've been able to have 2 of my 3 kids stay here, and Douglas County is really important to me. Have ran a small business here for the last 40 years. I currently don't have those business anymore. My wife and I she is retired. But I've worked really hard to maintain Douglas County as the shiny beacon on the hill. And I tell everybody that story. It's what I feel about it. It's the, no matter where I go, I run into people that want to know about Douglas County because they've heard about it. My vision in 4 years is that we've finally fixed the revenue issues that have plagued it for the last 30 years, and we go back to providing the services that you all come to expect and deserve.
4 years is a long time. It's an even longer time with technology nowadays. So I have no idea what certain aspects will look like in 4 years. In 4 years, if elected, I can tell you that I will be a champion for the people in every regard. If there is a seat at the table for you, I will be pulling out that chair and letting you sit at it so you can understand all the decisions we make, why we make them, and how they're going to affect you in your daily life. That's not to say that things will change. I mean, 4 years is a long time. It is really hard to say what's going to happen, what it's going to look like. The only thing I can ask you is to take a chance and let another perspective come in and show you what is possible in 4 years and how we can change in that time. You see what we've had in the past for the past 15 years. Is that what you want for another 4 years? That's up to you.
In 4 years, I see a change in being able to be uplifting as a government in a way that considers we the people, and that is not condescending to what anybody has to bring, that we all have a different outlet. Yes, we have the structure of the government that's supposed to serve our society for the best impact there is, and you can allocate according to the ordinances how to spend that money. But for me, it's about understanding that even with Bridges Out of Poverty work, that with people that intergenerational poverty, it's respect, and middle class would be a driving force for a relationship is achievement, milestone steps to get to your goals, and with wealth is networking, keeping opportunities kind of in that social network and breaking those old cycles that exist.
Well, Well, thank you. And thank you all for sitting through this tonight and listening to us. I grew up in Oakland, Oregon, just north of Roseburg here. I used to say Oakland and people would say I was from California. I was in junior high before I knew there was another Oakland. I met my wife in the Oakland school system. I was 1 year older than her. The year after I graduated, she graduated, we got married. We've been married, this September we'll be married 42 years. I've lived here in Douglas County except for from the time I graduated high school. I went to college in OIT in Klamath Falls, but I came back here during the holidays and every summer and ended up getting a job back here after college. Both of my children were raised here in Douglas County. One of them is able to stay here in Douglas County, is married to a Marine, and has two children, so I have 2 grandchildren here. And my son went to University of Portland, met a pretty girl that became a doctor, and this community does not compete with the pretty girl, so he's in Medford and has a child there. We get to see them quite a bit. So I would appreciate your vote. In 4 years, things are going to continue to get better as they have over the last 10 years. Thank you.
Yes, thank you everyone, and well, my family is a logging family. My dad was a logger, his dad was a logger, and my brother is a logger. My other part of my family are all mill workers. They all worked at RFP, Roseburg Forest Products, but now Roseburg Forest Products main headquarters are in Eugene on Gateway, and they are dealing with Lane County commissioners. My earliest memories are of my dad taking me out in the woods in the mud, and I stood on his shoulders and I saw what it's like out there. But automation changed everything. The Feller Bunchers then were sophisticated, and AI is trending right now. What do you think the Feller Bunchers and the mills are going to look like very soon? Those jobs aren't coming back. And so in 4 years, I would absolutely love to see the severance tax come back into county coffers and be able to rejuvenate our county like it did in the 90s. And thank you so much.
I'm not interested in short-term goal wins. I'm not interested in proclamations. I'm interested in long-term. So in the first 4 years, I promise, first off, to work as hard as I can to cut my salary in half. I'm not sure if you know how much the commissioners make a year, but it's astronomical for our area. So I promise to work to cut that in half. If I'm not able to get it cut in half legally, then I will donate half of my salary to community-based organizations to help make life better here. In those first 4 years, I plan to invest in the county to attract new industry through Oregon certified shovel-ready projects. And start building that foundation for a better future. I'm sure it'll take longer than 4 years, but I am going to adhere to a 2-year term limit, and hopefully we pass term limits to make sure that everyone else will adhere to that as well.
So I took the oath when I served in the military, the oath to the constitutions. I will do the same thing as a county commissioner. It's all constitutional. Counties actually have the power over the state, over the federal government, over everything. Counties are the power. The only reason that a government exists is to secure and ensure our God-given rights enumerated in our constitutions. I promise to make Douglas County the golden age of our state, basically. So from tariffs to timber, I will ensure reduced taxes, reduced burdens, no worries, no fraud, waste, and abuse, all gone. Those who were homeless before now have jobs and are a productive part of society. That's what I envision. Thank you.
When I became a commissioner 12 years ago, the county was 2.5 years away from insolvency. The park system was defunct and run down and had a mile-long list of deferred maintenance. The future for Douglas County was very uncertain, and we signed up to be the captain of a sinking ship. And today we have a very unique and vibrant park system, improving every day. We've secured our own future in the solid waste department. We've made milestone accomplishments in securing county funding for long-term in a 30-year fight that's been going on over the O&Z timber revenues. And 4 years from now, I'm going to enjoy seeing the fruits of those labors come to fruition. It's been a very long, hard battle.
Remember when you'd go to your job interview and your future employer would say, well, what do you see for your future in 5 years, 10 years? The question is, what do we see and hope for our county in 4 years? It's not a lot of time to make changes that need to be changed. One of the things I would say was that I would like to see a more prosperous county. I'd like to see our budget so that we don't have to get rid of our libraries. I'd like to see things on in that realm. But we can't do it without the public's input. And I want to know what you want. What do you want for your county? Not what we want, but what do you want? And I think we need to bring people in our communities and our agencies together. We need to maybe slug it out sometimes, but we need to stick it in there, and we need to hang on and figure out what will be best for the majority of us. We can't please everybody, but the majority of us in the future. Thank you.
Well, if you vote for me in 4 years, all of your wildest dreams will come true. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, so the one thing that you'll get from me is that you won't ever hear me say that that's not my job, or it's not my responsibility, or you just don't understand how it works. If it's not, then we're going to talk. There's a such thing as soft power and bringing people together. Again, I want to have a vision within 4 years of Douglas County 2030, and then start putting a plan together to achieve that vision. That vision needs to be created with the folks in Glendale and Glide and Reedsport and all across the county, and we need a vast different group of stakeholders that can give different inputs to ensure that whenever we have this plan, it's something that's executable and that will bring us prosperity. So thank you.
You keep trying to hand me that mic. You know, this political journey has been a rough road. I kind of got dragged into it kicking and screaming, not really wanting to deal with the mess. But through all of that, I was given a great gift. I really have found my true purpose in this life. So this election could go either way, whatever the outcome, I'll be okay. Because finally, for the first time in my life, my heart is aligned with my head, and I know I'm on the right path. I've been fighting bullies since I was 6 years old at George Washington Elementary School in San Leandro, California. Boys is just the next one on the list. But I tell you what, if you elect me as commissioner, you're going to see a lot of great things happen in this county that you didn't even know were possible. You're going to see kindness, accountability, and grace in the face of hard circumstances and hostility. And you're actually going to be heard. So if that's what you want as a county, I say vote Steve Hamerson.
Thank you all. And thank you to the audience for your questions and for your time and attention. That concludes the question and answer session. We are the League of Women Voters, and so I would like to give you a few pointers about voting before you go. Many of you are old enough to remember that the number 411 was a number that you could call to get information. The League of Women Voters has a website called vote411.org. Go to that website and enter your address, the address at which you're registered to vote, and you will be able to see what's going to be on your ballot. You can look at it now and see what you have to think about. All of these candidates were invited to submit information to that website, and you will find many of them did, and you'll find other candidates have put information there for you also. The League also has a paper voter's guide that some of you picked up on the way in, and if you don't want that in paper, you can find that online at the League of Women Voters of Oregon's website, LWVOR/vote. You'll find lots of information there. You can find the voter's guide. It's available in English, Spanish, and audio version, and people can find access to a Braille version also. The let's see, Tuesday, April 28th, coming up, is the deadline to register to vote in the May 19th election, if you know anyone who still needs to do that. To check your registration or change your registration, you can visit oregonvotes.gov/myvote. If you return your ballot by mail, we recommend that you do it at least 1 week before the due date to ensure timely postmarking. That is May 12th this time around. So be sure if you're going to mail it, you mail it by May 12th. No postage is required. If you're after May 12th, you should go inside your post office and ask for a manual postmark or take it to an official election drop box. And you can find more information about where your drop boxes are at oregonvotes.gov/dropbox or call your county elections office. Remember that you have to place your ballot in the return envelope and sign it. And remember that if you're dropping it in a drop box or getting it postmarked, you have to do that before the post office closes at 5 p.m. or drop it in a box by 8 p.m. And the state, it has this slogan for you to remember. It says, or save the worry, don't wait, vote early. Okay, so don't put it off to the last minute, get it done, and then relax. Okay, so we know you're all voters, we assume you're all voters, but you may have other people in your realm who need to be encouraged or reminded, so please do let them know to get registered and vote. Thank you very much.